Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have an interesting video here. This is a 2010 X5. The customer concern is a no crank, no start condition. I have some things removing here because in the process of doing this test, the procedure that we follow is also make sure that the engine is actually indeed spinning, because you want to make sure that it's not a CIS engine and that can prevent the starter from working. So I always recommend to all technicians to follow your steps A, B, C, D, and always follow the same steps. I was actually myself on a mistake and I jumped one and I almost called a better starter and it was not a better starter. So I want to share this with you so you follow what I think is a good practice to do when you have a no crank, no start condition on a BMW. All right, obviously I have everything connected. I'm doing a scan through the vehicle. So right now it should be almost done. Yep, as you can see, it's almost done. I'm using the SUS, and I already know what is wrong with the vehicle, so that's not a problem. Let me connect the battery charger because you saw the battery was in 11.9 in there because the charger is not plugged in. All right, so the voltage is now going good. I like the snap-on because it saves the report very, very good. All right, so if we go over to faults, we got engine and starter operation, terminal 50 are output, select the level position and plausible. This is because we put them neutral, so disregard that code. All right, so if I go back to the CAS, I don't have my glasses in me, so give me just 1 second to find it. Control access. That's not the one. A little small letters for my vision, so please bear with me. All right, is this? Yes. It's just K. All right, so I get it's this one. So what we're looking for in here is to see the terminal change. And this is what almost burned me up, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Always use, when you're doing this, first step, read the faults and duplicate the customer concern, which in this case is pretty easy. Uh, no communication. Let me try this again. Am I selecting the wrong one? Ah, yes. See, this is for my vision. All right, so in here, we already saw the fall, so we're just going to go straight to the data. I'm going to show you that indeed the car is a no crank, no start. And I'm going to go like I did this at first, and that almost burned me because usually what I check in here, press the wrong thing, so let me just get this out of the way. All right, we can just do custom, and we're going to select all the terminals. The most important in here will be terminal 50, which is the terminal that goes to the starter, but we want to see what the voltages are in the rest as well. So we can now go into list view. I think that's, you guys can see a little better now. What happened? Let me deselect all first, because I think I actually deselected ones that I wanted to see. All right, so list view. Well, as we can see here, we got battery voltage. The wake up will not be on unless you wake up the car for the first time. We can see terminal 50E a little low. Terminal R is all good. So the ones we want to see is terminal 50, and then obviously we're not starting the car, so that should be low. So let me try to crank the car. All I'm going to do is press the start button, and we should see this terminal 50E change to battery voltage and have some amperage in here. We have terminal 50, but no amperage going to the starter, or like means the starter is not spinning. So, well, that's a better starter, right? That's what you will assume, because terminal 50 is going to turn, to battery voltage, right? One more time, right there, battery voltage, cranking, 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 no more cranking. So that is what I thought it was. That's it. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a very common bad starter. Well, guys, no. Always do a battery voltage drop test when you have this in. So I will go on a step first, duplicate the customer concern and check the fault codes. Check the terminals change, make sure the CAS is indeed sending that signal to the starter. Second, or sorry, third, A, B, C, right? Uh, Spin the engine by hand, make sure the engine spins, and then otherwise going deeper. We can do a battery voltage drop test in here. So I got the multimeter just from ground, post in the front, and then to ground on the engine. This should always be zero. So we're going to crank it, make sure that it's changing, and we see some change, but not much, right? So that is not giving us such a good result. So this will, like you say, well, seems like everything is fine. Still, no. So one other thing that we want to do, and I'm going to leave this in here, is now we're going to change, and we're going to put this into the battery positive. I'm trying, since I got the charger here, so give me just 1 second. Now I'm making a knot in here with the cable, so we're going to grab the battery positive terminal, and we're going to move the ground. As we can see, sorry, we cannot see because the mirror is facing the other way. Now we got battery voltage 13.7. I'm going to move this ground from the meter over to the engine, and we're going to crank it. We already see a difference, 11.87, 13.79. There's already a voltage drop of 2 volts, probably a little more. Yeah, no, 2 volts. And that's without even loading the system. So we're going to try to crank the car. And this is the test you want to do, because you saw that ground to ground, it wasn't so bad. But now that we do this, all right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to crank the car one more time. What you guys seeing in there? Look at that, zero. We lost completely. It's completely 13 and a half voltage drop. So that's why the car is not cranking. That should stay in battery voltage. Let's say, when you're cranking a car, you got 13.7, let's say, even 12.8. You can say, well, the starter is running a little too much, and you can do an amp, clamp on the battery cable to the starter and see how much it's drawing. But dropping this completely to zero, that is 13.78 volts drop. So we have a completely bed ground on the engine ground. And this is the main problem with BMWs. Let me show you one ground. All right, this is a ground from a BMW that was really bad, as you can see. This is probably what we see here. And sometimes I see it, from the starter, because this ground is in charge of helping the starter draw that much amperage, and it cooks it and cuts it cuts it apart. So this is a main problem that BMW has. They have one main ground for the starter in the BMW X series is whole cap on the motor mount to the body, and I'm going to remove it and then retest the car. I can do another thing, which is, if you want, which is a valid test. Let me stop 1 second the video. All right, guys, this is another valid test. So if we suspect that we have a background, okay, I got this good set of jumper cables. So I put one on the ground here and then one into the engine ground, which is, what the starter is looking for to have a good ground there. All right, so let's go inside the vehicle. I have, as you can see, disconnected the front air filters and so on. So it might just stall and die, but we have a no crank condition. All we need is the car to crank, and it die, but it cranks. So I'm going to show you now if this changes at all. So let's go over to terminal 50. All right, so we got everything the same thing. Now let's see the amperage on the starter. 8 amps or so it shows in there, right? So we got amperage. The starter is moving. That's it, guys. Again, as I said, we got a bad ground, a bad main engine ground that is preventing the car from a starter. So again, always, guys, go A, B, C, D. And don't change that no matter what, because I got almost burned because of the same situation. Sometimes you get very comfortable, you are very familiar with the vehicles, and you see something like that and you think, oh, that's a starter, and it wasn't. All right, guys, I just want to share this with all you, and hopefully this is helpful for all techs around and people that wants to know how to test a system like this. As usual, see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye bye. All right, guys, this is just going to be a bonus material. All right, so I replaced the ground strap. You'll see the pictures, and I replaced the one on the muffler on the back, which was completely cut too. I used two long quarter-inch extensions, and I use a swivel from Snap-on, just and make sure that you lose that upper nut from the motor mount. You have to go through here, and then in between the body cover and the shaft, you will see the bolt in there. Just make sure that you lose it so you can, when you get there, because I mean it's very tight space. You're gonna have to release the hose that goes for um, it's a pressure hose that goes to the back transmission, and then it's just two tens in there, and then the ground strap is two 13 millimeter nuts. The other one is facing up or facing down on the body, but you just remove the panels with 8 millimeters and a couple of clips in there. It's pretty simple. I show pictures of that. Moment is true. Let me crank the car. You will see it on the RPMs again. It's not going to stay running because I got the air filter off, but as you can see, it is cranking. So this is good to go. That's it. All right, guys, this is 100% confirmation. The repair is done on that. No crank, no start. See you next time. Bye bye.